In this lesson, we're going to be graphing linear inequalities in a coordinate plane. You're going to be graphing these inequalities the same way you would graph an equation, except there's a couple more steps at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph the inequalities on the left side. I'm going to make a list on the right side of the split screen here, and I want you to do the same. I want you to make a list of the steps. Our first inequality is y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 1. Just like graphing equations, you're going to want to make sure that your equation is in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Now you know that this is an equality right here, and right here is an equation. But you would graph an inequality the same way you would graph an equation. So this can be an inequality symbol. The important part is that the y is by itself on the left side, and then your m and your b are by itself on the right side. And then you would do the same thing that you would do to graph an equation. You want to identify your m and your b. So my slope is always in front of the x. I'm even going to turn that into fraction because I know I'm going to have to use rise over run. And my b is 1. My y-intercept is 1. After you identify your m and your b, you're going to want to graph your b first. My b is 1. B stands for y-intercept, which is on the y-axis. So I'm going to find 1 on the y-axis. Here it is. And then after I graph my b, you're going to want to graph your slope, which is rise over run. So from that b, looks like I'm going to go up 3 to the right 1. 1, 2, 3. Or I could do the opposite. Down 3 to the left 1. Use a straight edge to draw your line. Okay. I got a little ahead of myself here. This is what's different between an equation and an inequality. When you graph your line, you're either going to have a dashed or a solid line. If you have a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal, you're going to have a solid line. If it's just greater than or less than, it's going to be dashed. I have an equal to, so my line is going to be solid. So that's a step that you're going to have to try to do your best to remember. Step 4 is going to be your shaded region. Inequalities are not simply just a line. Your answer does not just lie along the line. Your answer is either going to be above the line or below the line. We're going to shade that region to show where your answers could lie. So step 4 is to shade a region. And to figure out which side you shade, you're going to test a point. So pick any ordered pair not on your line. Okay, so I can pick any ordered pair that does not lie in this line. I'm going to pick something really easy, and I'm going to pick 0, 0. I would always pick 0, 0. The only time you can't pick 0, 0 is when that inequality is crossing through 0, 0. After you pick your ordered pair, you're going to want to plug that into the original inequality. times 0 plus 1. Okay. So when I solve, I get a false statement. 0 is greater than or equal to 1. This is false. This tells me that I shade in the opposite region that my ordered pair is. I picked an ordered pair on the right side of the line. This tells me that that's a false answer, that this is not the answer on the right side. Instead, the other region is going to be shaded. Now, you can make this look so much nicer on your coordinate grid, on your graphs. You can turn your pencil and shade them really lightly. I can't do that with a smart board. I'm also going to add a step over here so you know how to shade. If you get a true statement, you're going to shade the side with your ordered pair. If you get a false statement, you're going to shade the opposite side. There's our list. We're going to try another one of these together. Let's try y is less than negative 2x minus 3. We're going to go through these steps. Step 1 is to make sure that your inequalities and slope intercept form, and yes it is, because my m and my b are on the right side. Step 2 is to identify your m and your b. My slope is negative 2 over 1, and my b is negative 3. Remember to always take those signs out in front. Now I get to graph. My b, my y-intercept is negative 3. My slope is down 2 to the right 1. Down 2 to the right 1. Now that makes me run out of room, so I'm going to do the opposite. Up 2 to the left 1. I'm going to make that span the whole coordinate plane. Okay, this is a step that a lot of people forget. Step 3, you have to decide if you have a dashed or solid line. We have just a less than, there is no equal to, so this is going to be a dashed edge. You're going to use a straight edge to draw this. That's what a dashed line is going to look like. And then we have to decide if we're going to shade above the line or below the line, to the left of the line or to the right of the line. So I'm going to pick any ordered pair that does not line up the inequality. And again, I'm going to pick 0, 0. And I'm going to plug that into the original equation, or inequality. 0, this is my x value, this is my y value. My y value is 0. 0 is less than negative 2 times x, which is also 0, minus 3. 0 is less than 0 minus 3. 0 is less than negative 3. Again, I have a false statement. You're not always going to get a false statement, but the last two we've got false statements. That says that this ordered pair is not an answer to the inequality, nor are any of the ordered pairs on this side of the line. This is your division right here. This inequality separates your coordinate plane into two parts. The non-answers, and then we just found out the answers are over here. Again, when you shade, your shading is going to look so much nicer than mine because you can shade with a pencil. Okay, why don't you give it a try? Try y is greater than 2/3 x plus 1. Push pause and try that now. Okay. We're going to try another one. X plus 4y is less than or equal to negative 8. Our first step when graphing inequalities is to make sure that our inequalities in slope intercept form. This one is not, so we need to get y by itself. You're going to bring the non-y value over first. These are not like terms, so I cannot combine them. I'm going to put the x term first. Make sure you keep their signs out in front. On the left side, I have a 4y. I have to divide this side by 4, so I divide this whole side by 4. Y is less than or equal to. I have to make sure that I divide x and 8 by 4. Well, negative x, or negative 1x divided by 4 does not come out evenly, so I leave it a fraction. Then I have negative 8 divided by 4, which is negative 2. Now that my inequality is in slope-intercept form, I can continue to graph. Identify my slope. This time it's a negative 1/4, and my y-intercept is a negative 2. I'm going to graph my b first. My b is negative 2. My slope tells me to go down 1 to the right 4. Or I can do the opposite and go up 1 to the left 4. Step 3, dash your solid line. This is a equal to, so this is a solid line. And then I have to decide if I'm going to shade above it or shade below it. My answers are going to be the shaded region above or the shaded region below. To do that, I'm going to test a point. I'm going to use 0, 0. I'm going to plug that back into the original. This is my x value. This is my y value. 0 is less than or equal to negative 1/4 times x minus 2. Negative 1/4 times 0 is 0. 0 is less than or equal to negative 2. Is 0 less than or equal to negative 2? No, again, we have a false statement. If it's a false statement, that means that this is not an answer, and that means that all of the answers above the line are not true. So our answers are going to be below the line. So I'm going to shade below the line. Anything below the line is a solution to that inequality. I would like you to try x plus 3y is greater than or equal to negative 1. Push pause and try that now. Okay. We have just done problems with 2 variables. You are going to see inequalities with 1 variable. For example, x is less than negative 2. We're going to graph these the same way as if it said x equals a negative 2. This is just a short graph. You don't have to use all those steps. This graph is telling me that we have a line that goes through the x-axis at negative 2. Here's the x-axis, here's negative 2. We have a line that goes through that. Now this line happens to be dashed because there is no equal to. Okay. Our answer is either going to be shaded to the right or shaded to the left. When you have 1 variable, it's kind of easy to see if it's going to be shaded to the right or to the left. But if you can't see it, you're going to test a point. I'm going to test 0, 0. This is asking for x's. My x value is 0. Is 0 less than negative 2? No, that's false. That means that these are not answers. Anything to the left is an answer. You could also read this as x is less than negative 2, less than is shaded to the left. Okay, here's another one. Y is greater than or equal to 3. Because this is 1 variable, it's a quick graph. You don't have to follow all the steps on the other page. Y is greater than or equal to 3. That says that we have a line going through the y-axis at 3. 1, 2, 3. We have a line going through the y-axis. It's going to be horizontal. This happens to be a solid line because it has an equal to. Again, because this is 1 variable, you can tell if it's shaded above or below. If you can't tell, you're going to test a point. I'm going to pick 0, 0 to test to see if that's a solution of the inequality. It's asking for a y. My y value is 0. 0 is greater than or equal to 3. Let's That is false. 0 is not greater than or equal to 3. So my answer is not going to be below. It's going to be above the line. Again, because this is one variable, you can tell that this is shaded above. Y is greater than would be above.